Okay, I'm going to review my Asus N550JV-DB71. It's a new laptop I got recently. I'd like to go over some of the things that I like about it and some of the things I don't like about it. So I'm going to start out with just taking a look at the outside of the laptop. It's all aluminum. Even the back piece, it looks like plastic, but it's actually aluminum. It's got the speakers down there on the bottom. It's got the optical drive still. The top is also aluminum. You got your, on one side, you got your power adapter. This is for a subwoofer that comes with it. This is an Ethernet jack, an HDMI, some other kind of plug. I don't know what that's for. It's for a display of some kind, it looks like. Two USBs, headphone jack, which is on the side rather than the front. On the front, all you've got is your display lights. And on the other side, you've got your memory card slot, USB slot, and an optical drive. So some of the things that I like about this laptop, first of all, is the video card. It's got the NVIDIA GeForce 750M, which is a pretty good video card. It's a discrete processor. It's much better than the built-in Intel graphics. The 750M, which is in this one, is the same one that's used in some of the MacBook Pros, the ones with Retina displays. So it's really good. The other thing I like about it is the processor is excellent. It's the new 4th generation Haswell 2.4 GHz turbo boost up to 3.2 GHz quad core. Really snappy CPU in this. One of the other big things I like about this is the display. The display is IPS. It has much better viewing angles. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got excellent viewing angles, especially this way. Even, you know, if you have it on your lap and you're moving around, or it's not always stationary, it really helps, because on a traditional display, at least with my last one and for most of the ones I've seen, unless you have it like positioned exactly perfectly within 1 degree, either the top or the bottom will be washed out and the other side will be saturated. So pretty good display. It's FHD, which is full high definition, which is 1920 by 1080, so it's 1080p. So I like that display. The other thing I like about it is it's pretty thin. It's got a pretty small profile for something with a good video card in it. If you go to the really high-end laptop video cards, which is pretty much the 770M or the 780M, they're pretty thick. The laptops that those come on are much thicker than this. So all around, it's got a pretty good body to it. It's very quiet. It's extremely quiet. The intake is right there. The exhaust is right there. The heat management is very good. Even when this thing's under a heavy load, it's barely audible. You can barely hear it. So those are the things that I like about it. Now I'd like to mention the things that I don't like about it. I offer this criticism because hopefully, customers will ask for this. Maybe someone will see this, and I'd like to see laptops in the future have these improvements. So the first of all is Windows 8. Not much you can do about that. Now, I put Windows 7 on here. I actually upgraded the hard drive. You can look at another one of my videos to see where I did that. I took out the 1 terabyte 5400 RPM hard drive for a 256 megabyte Crucial SSD, solid state drive. So that's already in there. It's got Windows 7 on it. This laptop is not designed to work with Windows 7. A lot of the hardware pieces in here just don't have drivers that work well with Windows 7. So it was a big hassle finding all the drivers, installing them individually, tweaking settings to work properly. I got almost everything working. There are some things that I could not get working under Windows 7. So let me go through those. First of all is the touchpad. I like to use external mouse. In order to turn off the touchpad, the functions within the operating system don't let you control that. There's an Asus utility that lets you turn off the touchpad either when there's a external mouse plugged in or just whenever you feel like it. But with this, I had to go into the BIOS and disable the touchpad there. So not a big deal for me because I don't switch back back and forth very often. But if you were to need to switch back and forth between an external mouse and the touchpad, it would be a little bit of a nuisance. So that one, not a big deal. The subwoofer that I mentioned plugs in over here. It's just a little bitty subwoofer. Could not get that to work. Not a big deal. I don't think it'd make much of a difference. It's kind of just a little add-in thing that doesn't really matter, I don't think. Another thing, this one is a big hassle. This one is pretty inconvenient. The function keys, some of them don't work, and the most important one is the volume. I cannot control the volume from external from the laptop. There's no dial or anything like that, and these buttons do not work. That's a huge pain in the butt. So even if you're in a game or some kind of application, you have to go down here and control it through Windows software. So another one is the keyboard backlight. Another thing that I think is related to the function keys on the keyboard. The backlight will not come on. It'll blink on for just a second when you're booting into the BIOS, but once you're in your operating system, I cannot get the keyboard backlight to work. There's function keys for it right here. They do absolutely nothing. Luckily, the most important one, I think, important ones are the brightness keys, and those do work. So those will start working if you use Windows 8. You have to install the Windows HD driver or graphics driver, and then they'll start working. I'm going to show you the difference in brightness between maximum and minimum. This is something that to me is a huge deal. To other people, probably not as much, but when it's dark or when I have a headache, I like to put the brightness down as low as possible. And I had an older Asus laptop, which was an Asus N550JV, that at minimum brightness was not nearly dark enough. This one gets a good bit darker, so this one I'm happy with. That's the minimum brightness. It has about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps, and that's the brightest. The brightest could probably go a little bit brighter. I would like it to, but I don't really use it outside or in bright sunshine or anything like that, so I'm happy with the maximum brightness. So those are the things that you can miss out with trying to use Windows 7. I'm sure I've omitted some other things, just things that I haven't thought about. But overall, the laptop works pretty good, and I'm happy with it. Another big thing that I don't like about it, this is one of the main things I don't like about it, is the speakers are on the bottom. So there's 4 speakers in there, and they're on the bottom. If you notice here on the top, there's this little grill pattern, but that's just printed on. That's fake. There's no speakers up there. It would be super nice if they were there, because it really makes the sound inconsistent and muffled if you're using it like on your lap, it's a laptop, or on a piece of furniture or something like that. I use it usually out on the sofa on my lap, and it kind of sucks because the sound gets muffled and it's pointed down, and you miss out on a lot of the sound even when it's on maximum volume. When it's on a table like this, it's perfectly fine. It's loud, it's clear, because it bounces. There's space underneath there. It bounces off the table and gets back to you. If you have it on your lap, if you really feel like it, you can put like a book or something hard underneath it, hard and flat right there, and it sounds a lot louder and clearer. But I don't usually bother with that. But that's a drawback. I would really like to have them up here. The battery life, this really isn't a pro or a con. It's about mediocre. From what I've read and from what I've experienced, it's about 4 hours if you're doing like web browsing, that kind of thing. And that's about what I've experienced. When I do a 3D game, I played Dungeon Defenders for about 30 minutes, and it did that for about 30 minutes plus about 2 hours of web browsing. So if you're planning on gaming with this unplugged, it's pretty much out of the question. We'll get about an hour tops total. One other minor nitpick is inside here, there are 2 4GB memory sticks rather than one 8GB stick. The reason that matters is because When I first bought it, I went out and bought one 8 gigabyte stick, hoping to upgrade to 16 gigabytes. You can't do that. You can't mix an 8 gigabyte stick with a 4 gigabyte stick. Well, you might be able to, but you'd end up with 12 megabytes. But it's really best to match identical sticks of memory. So to do that, you need to get 2 sticks of memory instead of 1. So that's about it. Another minor nitpick is along the bottom, the case doesn't really match up right on the sides and the edges there, so it kind of makes sharp edges. I don't know if that's because I took the back panel off and maybe I bent it a little bit or something, but minor inconvenience. But overall, I'm really happy with the laptop for the main reason that it has the 750M video card, it has the Haswell 2.4 gigahertz, and it has the Full HD IPS display for under $1,000. So that's what I was looking for, and so I'm happy that I got those things for under $1,000. I'm going to put a link down below where you can get a good price on this, and if you have any questions, just put them down below. Thanks for watching.